You know what the worst part about the intro music
What's
is?
that?
Is now every time I hear it, I think of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You and I start the show out all the time talking about football, Steelers Nation, and now I hear Tommy Burnett music. I start thinking of the Pittsburgh Steelers. How did those two correlate?
Hey, it's a beautiful thing, and now you're starting to realize it. That's the beautiful thing about it.
I know I wasn't going that way with that conversation. I was like, I can't believe as soon as I start ringing, I think of
Good man. You're
right.
starting to wake up,
Terry
Terry.
Bradshaw. Let's do this. Mingo, Mean Joe Green. It's Todd Baxter. Welcome back to, I forgot what episode number we're on, but the Behind the Badge podcast here at the Sheriff's Office in Monroe County, Rochester, New York. My partner, Deputy Tisdale.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
here to grill people and get the truth out of them, right?
Hey, that's one thing that's beautiful about this podcast, finding out the guys behind the badge. But the other great thing is, where in America could you go but Rochester, New York, 70
Oh,
degrees.
man. Record-breaking 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
Record-breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff right there. And you know, and it teases us because we know what's around the corner.
Oh, yeah, you know
next
it's
week,
coming.
right?
You know it's coming.
what's
I still
It's
got
not
the
going to be
shovel
that
ready.
easy.
Yeah. I just hope that sun's out for the eclipse. That's all.
Right.
Putting a lot of effort into that thing, and no sun, I kind of ruined the whole.
It's still going to get dark.
Still going to get yeah, that's right. Still be nighttime. So, Captain, how are you?
Good, Sheriff. Thanks for
Welcome
having
back to the sixth floor. It's been a while. We
Yeah,
haven't
it
had you up
has.
here in a while. So
me. Yeah, it's coming back home.
we threw some railroad tracks on his collar as captain and sent them out to A-Zone. That's what we're here to talk about today, what a captain in A-Zone, what A-Zone's all about.
Yep.
Just introduce more to the public about our different zones and sections and areas of the Sheriff's Office. So how about a little introduction of yourself, or else I'll do it, and you don't want that to happen, I'm sure.
Thanks. Yeah, Kevin Schofel. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 2003, so 21 years on the job. Tiz and I were just talking about kind of how I ended up here, and I thank my lucky stars every day that I'm where I am. Yeah, so September I got promoted, went out to A-Zone. A-Zone covers the east side of the county, so Pittsford, Barrington, and Penfield, and then all the support that we give to other police agencies in Webster, Brighton, Irondequoit, East Rochester, Fairport. We work real closely with those guys. So, it's really the Sheriff's Office operations on the east side of the county, not just those 3 towns that we have primary jurisdiction. So,
And the Sheriff's Office is unique where we don't work in one jurisdiction. We're countywide. And the areas that we have primary responsibility for, you name the P-towns as an example, you're like a chief of police for all 3 of those towns. You're working directly with the town supervisors, working directly with the school districts in that area. And
Yep.
it's kind of what we challenge the captains to do. Be the chief of police out there. Get to know
Right.
your community, police the community, the way that it needs to be policed at that time. If they get specific problems, deal with those. Don't wait for the 6th floor of the public safety building downtown to address a crime pattern.
Right.
That's you. What resources? So it's pretty cool that we have 3 chiefs of police out there running around in the county and giving that TLC to the community.
yeah, absolutely. And I've got great relationships in all 3 of the P-towns. I meet with the town supervisors and the mayor of Pittsford regularly. We have great conversation. They have my number. They call me or text me. I got a text from Bill Smith from Pittsford yesterday, just
Great.
something. So they know that my line's always available to them for whatever, and I try to help them out as best I can. And then the schools, I don't do as much with the schools. I know all the superintendents, and same thing. They can reach out to me. But Todd Thurston's our community engagement deputy out there. He's got great relationships
Yeah.
in the schools. He's in the schools every week, and they know that he's their go-to guy. So.
Yeah, they got an expertise on that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you like most about your role as being captain?
I like being. So I was up here obviously for 2.5 years, and I had come from the zone. I was a lieutenant on nights, and you miss it. I'm sure you feel the same
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
You miss it. So I love being back out at the zone with the guys and gals that are doing the job, the energy, especially. I'm there for 2nd platoon and 3rd platoon. On 3rd platoon especially, you've got young, hungry deputies. They want to go out and do work. They do great proactive work, and I really enjoy their energy and their enthusiasm for it. And I try to foster that as best I can.
It's a great mentorship position. You got the 3 shifts. We call them platoons, 24-hour coverage, 8-hour shifts, and each one has a lieutenant, soon to be 2nd platoon lieutenant. They lieutenants take a little burden off you. That's fantastic, and so you're there to guide and mentor and develop. The next people in the chain of command, obviously, but these young deputies on the overnight shifts and they're so awesome because they want to work.
Yeah.
And they're just ready to go, and then you get to guide them in the future of law enforcement. It's
Yeah.
a great
And,
position.
I try to provide the leadership, and I try to encourage leadership from them too.
Right.
And I say that all the time. Those guys are the ones that are going to be in the sergeant and lieutenant and captain positions in 10, 15, 20 years. So whatever I can do for them now to bring them up, and then they have to remember that as they come through, we've got this recruit class in right now. We're going to have another one right after. That's a lot of opportunity to learn how to mentor new deputies and to really train your replacement, train the partner that you want. You've got that blank canvas that you can really create a great thing.
Let me ask you this: what are some of the challenges that you face as being captain?
So, me uniquely, as you know, Captain Alberti had to suddenly and kind of tragically retire with very short notice back in August.
Amen.
And so I came into A Zone after.
That's Captain right there. God bless.
Yeah. And that was our send off to him. But I had big shoes to fill. He was very well regarded by the deputies at A Zone. He was very well regarded by the town supervisors, the school superintendents, and actually I just took over his schedule. He had on his calendar every month, certain days, certain times to meet with these town supervisors. I said, just send it to me from now on. I didn't try to do my own thing, and I was very aware that I had to, tread lightly. He meant a lot to them. So
well, we often talk on this podcast about leadership, and that's a difficult leadership position of on. We lost a great captain, an icon, a worker, right? Yeah. And to a battle with cancer and his beautiful family. And you guys, those were demonstrations of us showing support for the family out in front of his house, marching many deputies deep just to show up to his last role.
It was an awesome display of our gratitude for his years of service and our commitment to him and his family.
Yeah, amen. And thank God. The other side of it is, all right, so now the office door has to open again. We don't shut down the business.
Right.
And you got to step into that role. That's leadership. That takes a lot of thinking. That takes a lot of empathy and compassion, but also to work through that emotional intelligence world, and to fill the void, but be your own guy too, and put your own mark on the organization. So, there's books written on that process right there, and so you've done it very, very well.
Yeah, and I've had some deputies that have come to me that had a relationship or a conversation with Captain Alberti about their goals in their career, and just kind of like, hey, Cap, just so you know, this is kind of where I want to go. And I said, okay, let's talk about this. Here's some things that I see, and the one deputy that came to me the very next week, I saw him putting some of those suggestions I made in motion. So he knew that his goals weren't falling on deaf ears. He had that relationship with Captain Alberti, and now he has it with me.
Yeah, so that's the cool thing too. And you also talked about the challenges to the role of being captain over at A Zone, but it doesn't just turn off as soon as you walk out of the door. No. Like you said, we talked offline about you were getting calls when we were just talking offline. Yep. You know what I mean? And it just never stops.
Right. Yeah. And my supervisors that work for me at A Zone, they all know my phone is on 24/7 if they need something. It was a little touchy, not touchy, but in the beginning, the first month or so, because I didn't know exactly what I should be getting called for in the middle of the night. So I got woken up a lot more than I probably needed to. But I'd rather get it and then kind of feel my way, But, as I was saying, we had that tragic, murder-suicide back in October. I was dropping my son off at hockey when that came in. I heard it unfolding, and then, that's part of my role. I have to be there. I have to make sure that the deputies that are responding there have what they need, and I have to be there to support them. And that especially was a very challenging scene. So, I'm glad I was there for it.
Yeah, so the role of captain, so we have three. We got A Zone, B Zone, C Zone. If you're not from Rochester, you have no idea what the heck we're talking about. But just to illustrate those as chiefs of police with their 3 shifts, covering calls for service, doing the proactive work, doing the community relations work, doing all that work, victims advocate work, as this is Victim Advocate Week. That's all. So you have your own little police department, and you're running that. You got the logistics of how many cars you got, enough, computers for the deputies, enough body-worn cameras or charging stations.
Right.
So you're running so you really are. I said it earlier, but we have 3 chiefs of police, and that's the expectation of you guys, is that you're out there and you're doing just like you were a town chief, right?
Yeah, and it's not police work. There is some police work, and that's the nice thing about being back out at the zone, like I said, is being around the guys and gals that are out doing the police work. And today it was a nice day. I went out and I listened to calls, and it was slow, so I didn't get involved in anything. But then also, there's a lot of forms that have to get filled out. Police work generates a lot of paperwork, and a lot of those come across my desk and need my review and my signature. And there's a lot of different things right now. We've got the fence that's being installed, and I need to make sure that those guys from the fence company have what they need. Things as simple as water. The hose was put away for the winter. I got to break the hose out. I mean, simple stuff. Anybody can do it, but I'm there to help with that sort of thing. The building, there's maintenance that needs to be done on the building, and I'm the one that reaches out to the landlord and says, hey, we got something here that needs to be fixed, or hey, I see this. Can we talk about doing this and this? For instance, we're putting in electric hand dryers. Some employee suggestion, I got it, going up through the chain of command, but we're going to do that, and that's my role, and
Right.
it's not police
And
work.
someone think as a police chief, if you will, the captains in our zones, that you'd have staff. You'd have staff to do that, but that's not the staff is doing the other work, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're answering phone calls for victims. They're filing reports and setting our data entry bases, our data bases with their entry information that needs to be in there to keep our databases up to date. This is all part of the process. So if not you, then who? Who
Right.
does those maybe mundane?
Right.
Under a captain position, people would think, no, absolutely. That's what good leadership does. Leadership goes out there and fills gaps,
Yeah.
provides
Yeah.
opportunities for other people to do their job, and then the mentor and the guiding and all that good stuff.
And there's 2 lieutenants right now. We have an afternoon lieutenant and night lieutenant, and I can give them some things, but
Yeah.
I can't ask the night lieutenant to deal with the landlord.
Right. Yeah.
He's not doing that.
I don't think you'd appreciate a call at 3 in the morning
Right,
talking
exactly.
about
Yeah.
the door won't open and
Right.
the locking mechanism is broke. So describe for a person, in general overview, what does a captain do? So you come in, you're working Monday through Friday, not the Tisdale Illustrated, the phone always rings,
Right.
but so you come in and what's a day look like? What's a Monday?
So my day, I usually I come in, I get my computer fired up, and then I grab my coffee. I go. I'm usually there before the zone clerk is. I get there usually around 7:30 or so. I go and I check in with the sergeants if they're there and see what's going on. I get any emails from things that have gone on, but some things don't generate emails, personnel issues or things like that. So I check in with the sergeant. I sit with him. We just kind of talk things over. I find out what he's got going on, details that they want to run, things like that. I grab the mail out of my mailbox because, like I said, the paperwork is a constant thing, so I grab that, and then I go, and generally it's going through the emails from the past 12 hours, or since I went to bed the night before, and just a lot of it is just sending it off to the right person. We get a lot of emails to the sheriff, from the website of concerns of community members, so I take those and I triage, where's that going to go? Who would be best to handle this? And some of them I handle. And then some of them, I give to our traffic guy because it's a traffic complaint. He's going to go out and he's going to sit there and he's going to shoot radar or watch this particular stop sign or whatever the case is. Todd Thurston, our community engagement deputy, he gets a lot of those because a lot of community engagement stuff, he's already got it going on. So why would I duplicate his effort, And I'm not trying to, reinvent the wheel with any of this. So I give it to the person that is, best suited to handle that. And then I try to get out. I try to get out. If not out, driving around the zone, I try to at least get out when I hear deputies in the review room. I go out there and just, talk with them and find out what they have going on and things like that. I make it a habit. Anytime I hear the music playing in the gym, I go out there and I talk to the deputies that are working out. We get a lot of afternoon guys that come in early to work out, and a lot of the second platoon guys. And I remember you saying this is who the gym is for. It's for these people that don't work out, not for the muscleheads, but these guys that never worked out. Because they're there, and at 2:00 their day is done. They go out there and they work out for an hour.
Exactly what we built those gyms for,
Yeah.
right? And here's our new zone gyms, all 3 zones. Great donation by our foundation and Mr. Kip Palmer, giving us the money to provide this, physical workout need, but also the mental workout need. This is a great way to decompress after a long shift and a lot of bad stuff
Absolutely.
that you had to deal with to get in there. And all 3 zones now have these. And I'm so happy the captain gave that feedback. You said on the way here, you looked, the door was open, people are working out.
Yeah, and it's great that we have those garage doors because a day like today, that
pop
door's
it
wide open, the music's
Right.
playing, and they're loving it.
No taxpayer money.
That's nice. That's nice.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people don't realize. Like when you see like a guy, we talked offline a little bit about it. The sheriff's department, we're always looking for good people to bring in good people to work, for the sheriff's department. And it doesn't matter where your background is. It doesn't matter where you come from. But like with you, your background, Delta Sonic. He ran through it. It was kind of funny. And
I started at Delta Sonic right out of high school because I needed a job, and I really was kind of floating around. I worked there. I worked my way up pretty quick. I was a senior manager, so I was number 2 at a location, and I had a little bit of frustration with something. And my girlfriend at the time, but wife now, her brother worked in the jail at the time, and he said, "You should take the test." I said, "I don't know about that, whatever." So he convinced me to take the test. I've never been through a process. I never been through the process. I didn't know what to expect, so I take the test. I do well on it, and one day I get a call. I got to go and do the physical agility, so I'll go do that. And I haven't told Delta Sonic what I'm doing, right? And I go and do the physical agility, and then they're like, "All right, everybody that passed, come in here, and here's your background book, and you've got to go to the doctor on this day, and you got to do the psych on this day." And I was like, wait. This is going kind of quick. I had no idea. But then I went through the process, and everything aligned just right that I knew when they called me and offered me the job, that was the right choice to make. Because I was very hesitant at first because I was comfortable at Delta
Right.
Sonic. I had really made a place for myself, and I still have a lot of great friends there. And actually, the owner has joked different times like, "Hey, you got your time in yet? You can always come back."
yeah.
You know,
That many years later.
so. But yeah, and it's just that, that's why I say I thank my lucky stars because I'm not one of those people that went through high school or
Yeah.
went to college.
Neither was I. I didn't
Yeah.
know I wanted to be a police officer. I loved the job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same what you said offline. You said you really that wasn't really your thought. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then to see where you are now, showing any other individual out there.
Yeah.
Right.
If you ever thought about coming into the sheriff's department, the possibilities.
Yeah, it's attainable and it is the most rewarding career. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is a setup question, so feel free to answer because the chief deputy will be listening and all the other people. So, we're in a stage of growth of the sheriff's office. We have been blessed by growing, in particular on the road patrol, and we're strategizing that growth. Obviously, we put in a request and we have the need to fulfill that request, but also gives us opportunities. So as we look at 10-hour shifts and 12-hour shifts and overlapping shifts and centralized units downtown, like special operations versus decentralized, giving all the resources to the three captains, let them do their job with all the resources. There's always this debate, right? It's an ongoing debate all the time, and
Right.
and there's no perfect way to do it, or I'd do it today. So here's my long-winded introduction, and now the question. As you see our growing over the next 24 months, as we realize these extra deputies and this extra manpower, what would you do? What would be your number one priority? Not the shifts and all that. Don't worry about it.
Right.
But what, as you sit back as a captain, what would you prioritize? And there's not one right answer to this question, so don't feel obligated.
Right,
But,
no,
but I'm just looking. As I sit back and strategize for a 24-month period, what would I never been a zone captain?
Right.
So what would a zone captain say? This is what if we do anything, let's do this. And
Yeah,
we can do a lot of other stuff too.
I like being able to let the deputies go and do proactive stuff, and it's very hard to do. It's very busy these days, so you're constantly chasing the radio and having
Right.
the staff so that you have 3 or 4 extra guys every shift scheduled so that they can do certain things. An example is one of the deputies on afternoons took a call from a concerned citizen about a business in Penfield that was potentially involved in illegal activities.
Right.
He took that and he condensed that down into a report, and they did a little bit of surveillance on the place, and they set up a detail. And these guys, they really wanted to go in and set this detail up, and they did all the work for it, and they were really excited to do it, and they ended up making some good arrests on this. And there's a human trafficking aspect too that now is being explored, and trying to make sure that these young people that were working there are safe and have the support they need. And it's hard to do that when you're constantly chasing the radio. So, and I think the chief deputy, has said it best. His goal is to keep the platoons fat,
Right.
and keep that extra personnel there so that when a deputy gets something like that, they can say, time out, I'm going to put myself out and just watch this for a little while. I want to see what comes and goes from this place. Or we've got this issue here, dirt bikes is a huge thing.
Yeah,
we're
right.
getting in. I talked to them today in roll call about it. Warm weather, the ATVs and dirt bikes are out there. It's great if they have the ability to put themselves maybe out of service on a special attention for a little bit longer and try to either deter it or catch somebody, and start. We just had a young man get pretty seriously hurt on a dirt bike last week, right in Pittsford. And, maybe the education piece, that's something I was thinking about today. Like, how can maybe these young kids, they don't realize how dangerous
threat,
it could
the
be.
threat to 'em, right.
Let's work on that angle, and having the extra manpower to be able to do those things rather than just constantly, answer calls for service is, I think, really
That's good.
where we would like to be.
That was a good, safe answer.
Well, it sure was. Let me ask you this: just like someone looking from the outside,
Yeah.
how does each zone different from one to the other?
Good question. That's a
Yeah,
good question.
and it's funny because we've always said it. It's almost like you have 3 different police departments, within the sheriff's office, because each zone does have its little nuances. C zone on the west side is more rural, and so some of the people you deal with are a different outlook on things than what you might have in Henrietta or Pittsford or Penfield. But then there's little things that have come up. I remember as a sergeant seeing this, in C zone, the way we handled, like the early cars. We have the early cars that come on an hour before the regular shift, and they cover the shift change and what the expectation was of them. And then you go to, B zone, let's say, and it was just a little bit different. Not wrong necessarily, just a different mentality on it,
Right,
right?
right.
So you get different, just different nuances like that. You know, sometimes, you know, for C-Zone, again, very, very large, expansive
huge.
area, right? So where a district car can go, how far out of their district they can go and not be too far versus A-Zone, which is very condensed. You can have a Penfield car in Pittsford. It's really not as big a deal as having the Hilton car in Chili.
That's huge.
You know, so things like that are definitely in, you know, the way backups are handled. You know, and if you don't know those idiosyncrasies of your patrol districts, then you don't, you know, you don't know what's right and wrong, so to speak. So
you mentioned your law enforcement prior to coming to law enforcement. You weren't a cop, weren't even dreaming of being a cop, but you had, you know, somebody, Roy Adams. You know? So I was down in Florida recently and had a little lunch with Roy Adams and Al Joseph and these icons of the city police department. It was just so much fun to see him again. But I brought you up a couple times. We had some good stories.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So Roy is my wife's uncle. He and my father-in-law were in the Army together back in the 70s in Germany. And Roy was a tank commander, and my father-in-law was a tank mechanic. So Roy would get him stuck and break them, and he'd tow them back and fix them. And they, you know, he.
It's kind of how Roy policed.
Yeah. So I've heard.
So it's kind of how he policed.
So I've heard.
Just go in there, things break, and then people have to come in and fix it. But again, another icon. At least with the Rochester Police Department, you know, having him around you as you were a young deputy, I'm sure was beneficial.
And he was range master. He and Bill Bartell were at the range when I went through the academy. So, you know, Uncle Roy was always watching. You know, and you know, I always wanted to make sure I didn't let him down. You know.
Yeah, your name's attached to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you this as well: how do you see what the importance of your engagement with the community?
So, community engagement. I mean, that's everything. You know, they say it takes a village. You know, and it's a team effort. It has to be, and that's what I said to the town supervisors when I met with them. That's what I said with the superintendents when I met with them. It's really a team effort. You know, we're all working towards the same thing, and what we're working towards is making, you know, good people feel safe, having a nice community to live in. You know, making sure the kids are heading in the right direction. All those things, we are doing it from our, you know, particular disciplines, right? But working together as a team, and maybe we don't always agree. Maybe sometimes I'm going to have to say, no, sorry, we're not doing that. Or maybe sometimes I got to say, yeah, we're doing it this way. And we're going to have that back and forth, and we're going to have a conversation. In the end, I'm going to understand where they're coming from. They're going to understand where I'm coming from. And we're going to try to keep moving forward with the same goal in mind, you know?
Yeah, and community relations is absolutely essential. You know, if you think about crime fighting, how do cops solve crime? It's information. Where's the information come from? People. Right? And if you don't treat people well, you're not getting the information to solve the crime.
Absolutely.
And, where does police departments get funded from? People, right? And so if you're not interacting with the people and providing a service that they like, they're going to try and work with your budget a little different, right? And
if the people don't feel that you're supporting them, they're not going to support you.
And you talked earlier about the platoons being quote unquote fat, right? You got enough manpower to be proactive. And proactivity also means spending an extra 30, 45 minutes on an investigation for a crime victim, right? That I'm going to take those extra steps and make you feel like you're getting a service. I'm going to actually pursue the bad guy instead of just take a report and move on. Those pay dividends, you know, when it comes to, it's all community relations, you know, treat you, it's the golden rule. But unfortunately, we go to a lot of negative things naturally by our business, but the fact that you can have a positive outcome on the other end, that's what community relations really gets built.
Yeah, and that's what I tell the deputies all the time. I say, you know, treat people that you deal with like you'd want your parents treated. And go out there and be the cop that your parents, or depending on what age group I'm talking to, your parents think you are, or your spouse thinks you are, your kids.
Or your kids, right?
Right? Yeah, go out and be that cop. You know, you know, they all have this, you know, pie in the sky kind of image of us when we go to work, and you know, live up to that as best you can. You know.
Good advice.
So.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, since you've been captain, what's one thing out there that happened since you've been captain that's made you sit back and say, you know what, this is what it's all about?
So having these guys, so like I had said, I have this one guy that came to me and said he's got this goal in mind, and his goal is to someday be on the drug task force, right? And he had talked to Captain Alberti about that, and there were some pointers and stuff. So he said, I just wanted you to know that that's kind of my goal, and you know, anytime if you have any suggestions. So I said to him, you know, I gave him some suggestions on things he could do. A routine turnover arrest at Wegmans for a PL. Talk to that person. Talk to him and find out, you know, ask him the why. You already know what. Ask him the why. Yeah. And I told him, you know, do that and start developing your ability to talk to people and to get information and that sort of thing. And you can start, you know, gathering that intelligence that you would need or that the drug task force needs. And the very next week, he did exactly that. And it was actually at Wegmans, a turnover. And it was very fulfilling to like, wow, and then, something else I've been talking about is we've got a lot of newer deputies, and we have a lot of people that came up through COVID. And COVID changed policing.
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
And, I was noticing, I'm looking at, the stats that they, put out for activity. And these guys are stepping out with people every night. Some of these deputies, stepping out 25, 30 times a month with, suspicious vehicles or suspicious individuals that they encounter. But they're not writing any, intelligence.
FIFs, field
yeah.
interview forms, yeah.
And they're not writing any of those. You can get one or two, and that has started to increase. So Sergeant Zimmerman, who's the CIS sergeant at A-Zone, actually came to me the other day with an FIF in hand that one of the night deputies had written. He said, "You're being heard," and he handed it to me. He goes, they're getting the message. That was really fulfilling. That I can get that message across and show them the why of it.
Right, the why, exactly. That's a huge point in our world.
Yeah.
Whether you're dealing with your family, whether you're dealing with law enforcement, supervision of other people, and the whys. But,
Yeah.
I love when you said that a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the importance of it. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there who not in law enforcement. They don't know what A zone is, B zone is, this and that. And like you said, when they have, that's why these shows this are very important. Right. And like you said, it's that community relations. Just letting them know what's happening, where your money's going.
Exactly.
What guys like you in positions like that that bring out the best for the sheriff's department.
Yeah, and that's why we do open houses. That's why we allow ride-alongs and things like that, because people want to see what we do.
Yeah, the other side, that's why we do tours of the jail. Come on and walk through the jail. I mean, it shouldn't be this mystique. Obviously, we got safety and security issues we got to deal with when people come through it. But the fact is, I don't mind giving tours. Actually, I love doing ride-alongs. I love people doing ride-alongs. I love people coming inside the jail and walk the walls and and see what it's actually like in there. And what the deputies do for a living. These are transparent, but they build community trust. They build community relations when we do those types of things. And as you watch this, now the captain, and you live in one of those towns, you know who you're talking to. Give him a call.
Yeah.
You can see he's approachable. I think you've
Absolutely.
seen that. So we finish up, Cap, with the No Miranda Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Man, the music. We got to start using this in the interview room. Look at you got the answers.
I prepped.
You got the answers. So what's your favorite football team?
My favorite football team.
That's
is
not on there.
It's Buffalo Bills.
Oh, good.
Oh, gosh.
Again, very
Hometown.
neutral,
Yeah.
politically correct answer.
Yeah,
Not
so-
bad.
I was never a huge football fan growing up. A little bit, but my stepdad was always a Giants fan, and he always said it was because he was a Giants fan before the Bills existed. My wife and her family are very, very big Bills fans, and over the years, I've just watching it. I've become, and I like supporting the hometown team.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a Buffalo Sabres fan. I'm an Amerks fan.
Right.
Buffalo Bills are the hometown team, so I'm all about it.
Amrick's gonna be in the jail tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Really?
A
right.
little roll call, right? Yeah, a
Yeah.
little roll call. So that'll be good.
Very
That'll be good.
cool.
Yeah, we like to support our local teams, and they do a great job supporting law enforcement
Yeah,
too. It's pretty
absolutely.
cool. Good. I gave him a softball.
Oh, let me give him something just a little bit easy. Regular or waffle cone?
Waffle cone. Waffle cone.
Good man. Good man. Good man.
You know anything about ice cream?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Gifford's. Gifford's ice cream.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So waffle cone. What's yours?
Actually, waffle. He's right.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That's a good one, brother. That's a good one.
You walk into an ice cream place and you smell it. How could you not want that waffle cone when you smell that?
Oh,
And it's,
brother.
so good. We went to a place
I
we were
haven't
just.
seen him that excited about anything in a long time. He was like, "Oh, so good."
We walked into a place
70 degrees out.
down in Miami a couple weeks ago, and it was a place that they put the ingredients into a bowl, and then they have liquid nitrogen, and they freeze the ice cream right in front of you,
Right.
and they're doing it with spoons.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
My son ordered a waffle cone, and he goes over and he pours the batter and puts. I mean, he made a fresh waffle cone for him.
Really?
I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It
That is
was
pretty
expensive, but
That is pretty cool.
you're going to pay for the service.
So I need a gimmick like that. So you're gonna make the ice cream right in front of you.
That would be cool.
I need a gimmick. That's awesome. You got another one, or are we good?
Oh, let me get
we
one
gave
more.
him two
One more,
softballs.
folks. One more.
You got to hit
One
him
more.
hard. You got to hit him hard.
Favorite TV show all time?
Ooh, that is a hard one. Favorite TV show all time? I got to say The Sopranos. Yeah, I loved The Sopranos. We would actually have friends come over. It's back when I still worked at Delta Sonic, and I had a few friends that we were all big fans. And on Sunday nights, they'd come over and we'd watch The Sopranos.
Really?
Yeah.
No Miranda is more than just getting information out of people is learning about that. I learned something about the captain. Well, the captain, thanks for joining us. Excuse me. There.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing the A zone, what they do, what captains in a zone office do for a sheriff's office. Thanks for your compassion. I know you as a person. I know your compassion for the job, and you are a cop through and through. And it's ironic that I've learned something new. We both never dreamed of being cops growing
Right.
up, but thank God the good Lord put us in a position to do our service to the
Absolutely.
community.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me up here. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. To next week, folks. Hopefully me and Tiz will be with you, and we'll share some more of our Monroe County Sheriff's Office with you. Have a good week.